There's a strange kind of calm some people feel the moment they decide they're staying in. Not the calm of boredom, but the kind that feels like taking off a heavy backpack you didn't realize you were carrying all day. The noise fades, the pressure drops, and suddenly, breathing feels easier. If that feeling sounds familiar, it's not random, and it's definitely not something to feel guilty about. A lot of people assume that not wanting to leave the house means you're missing out on life, that you're unmotivated, antisocial, or stuck in your comfort zone. But psychology tells a very different story. Wanting to stay home often has less to do with fear and more to do with regulation. It's the mind choosing the environment where it feels the most stable, grounded, and in control. Home isn't just a physical space, it's a controlled environment. You decide the lighting, the noise level, the pace of the day. You don't have to explain yourself or adjust to anyone else's energy. There's no performance required. Your brain doesn't have to stay alert for social cues or unexpected demands. It can finally power down. For many people, that feeling of safety is rare outside their own space. What's important to understand is that this preference usually doesn't appear overnight. People don't wake up one day and decide they never want to leave the house again. It builds slowly. A stressful job that never truly shuts off. Social situations that demand constant energy. A world that feels louder, faster, and more overwhelming than it used to. Over time, your brain starts making quiet associations. Outside equals effort. Home equals relief. And without realizing it, you start choosing the place that costs you less. For a lot of people, life pushes them indoors before they consciously notice what's happening. Burnout plays a huge role. When you're mentally exhausted, even simple plans can feel heavy. Getting ready, driving, making small talk, being on. Things that once felt normal start to feel draining. Home becomes the one place where your energy stops leaking and you don't feel the need to be anything for anyone. This pattern is especially common after difficult experiences, toxic relationships, long periods of stress, feeling misunderstood, or emotionally stretched too thin. When life feels unpredictable, the mind looks for control, and your own space offers that instantly. Familiar routines, predictable silence, a sense of order. Your nervous system reads that as safety, and it remembers it. Here's the part that often gets misunderstood. Most people who prefer staying home don't hate people. Many of them enjoy connection. They like meaningful conversations. They value closeness. But too much stimulation for too long overwhelms their system. So they pull back. Not because they're antisocial, but because they need quiet to reset before they can show up again as themselves. This is why labeling it as laziness misses the point entirely. Laziness avoids effort without reason. What's happening here is self-preservation. It's the mind choosing recovery over overload. It's choosing peace in a world that rarely slows down. And in a culture that celebrates constant movement and productivity, choosing rest can easily be mistaken for something being wrong. But this is only the surface of the psychology. Not everyone who never wants to leave the house stays for the same reason. Some are wired differently. Some are overstimulated by noise and chaos. Some need solitude to think and create. And some don't realize they've slowly crossed the line from peace into isolation. Understanding which one you are changes how you see yourself and what you do next. That's where this story really begins. One of the most common types is the true introvert. This isn't about shyness or social anxiety. True introversion is about energy. Social interaction costs them something. Even good conversations, even time with people they love, slowly drains their internal battery. So home becomes the place where that energy is restored. It's where they can be quiet without feeling awkward, alone without feeling lonely. For them, staying home isn't avoidance, it's maintenance. Without that downtime, they burn out fast. Then there's a group that often gets mislabeled as introverted, but isn't. These are people with overstimulated minds. Noise, crowds, constant movement, unpredictable environments. They don't just feel annoying, they feel exhausting. Their nervous system processes more information at once, so busy spaces hit harder. A crowded cafe, a loud restaurant, even a casual outing can feel like sensory overload. Home, by contrast, is predictable, calm, adjustable. These people don't dislike people, they dislike chaos. Staying home is how they protect their mental bandwidth. Another group thrives indoors for a completely different reason: creativity. These are the people whose inner world is louder than the outer one. Writers, artists, thinkers, planners, deep processors. For them, solitude isn't empty, it's active. It's where ideas connect, where thoughts stretch without interruption, where imagination finally has room to breathe. Leaving the house too often breaks that flow. Being home isn't about hiding from life, it's about engaging with it internally. Their best work often comes from long, uninterrupted stretches of quiet. There's also a quieter group that doesn't get talked about as much. People who stay home because life has already taken more from them than they expected. Not in a dramatic way, but in small, cumulative ways. Emotional fatigue, disappointment, long periods of responsibility without relief. Over time, the outside world starts to feel demanding instead of inviting. Staying home becomes a way to conserve what little energy they have left. It's not depression and it's not fear. It's depletion. What all these types have in common is this: home represents control. Outside, there are expectations, variables, and constant adjustments. Inside, things are known, predictable, safe. That sense of control is deeply comforting to the human brain, especially after long periods of stress or overstimulation. Once your mind learns that staying in keeps you regulated, it will keep nudging you in that direction. And here's where things get interesting. Many people don't fit into just one of these categories. Someone can be introverted and overstimulated, creative and burned out, calm-seeking and emotionally drained. That's why it's so easy to misjudge yourself. You might think, I used to love going out. What changed? But often, nothing broke. Your needs just shifted. This is also why forcing yourself to just be more social rarely works. If the reason you stay home is neurological, emotional, or psychological, pushing against it without understanding it only creates resistance. You don't recharge by doing more of what drains you. You recharge by respecting how your system actually works. But there's a line here that matters. And most people don't notice when they're approaching it. Staying home can be restorative. It can be grounding. It can be healthy. But when staying home stops being a choice and starts feeling like the only option, something subtle changes. Comfort can quietly turn into confinement. Peace can begin to isolate instead of heal. By now, it should be clear that wanting to stay home isn't strange, weak, or something that needs to be fixed. For many people, it's a natural response to how their mind and nervous system work. Home restores them, it calms them, it gives them space to think, feel, and breathe without pressure. But here's where the psychology gets more complicated. The same place that heals you can also quietly limit you if you stay there too long without noticing why. The line between peace and isolation is thin, and most people don't cross it all at once. They drift. At first, staying home feels intentional. You choose rest. You protect your energy. You say no when you need to. But over time, movement slows. Days start to blur together. You stop doing things not because you don't want to, but because the effort feels heavier than it used to. The world outside doesn't feel dangerous, it just feels distant. This is where the mind can turn inward in an unhealthy way. Silence, when balanced, is grounding. But too much silence gives your thoughts too much room. Overthinking creeps in. Motivation fades. The comfort that once helped you recover starts to make everything else feel harder. Not because home is bad, but because growth requires contrast. Without some form of movement, even a gentle one, the mind starts to stagnate. What makes this tricky is that it doesn't feel wrong at first. There's no alarm going off, no dramatic moment where you realize something has changed. You just notice that your world has gotten smaller. You stop reaching out. You stop trying new things, not out of fear, but out of habit. And habits, especially comfortable ones, are powerful. Psychologically, this happens because the brain loves efficiency. If staying home reduces stress in the short term, the brain will keep choosing it. But the brain isn't great at long-term balance. It prioritizes immediate relief over future fulfillment. So while home keeps you regulated today, too much withdrawal can slowly disconnect you from the things that give life texture, novelty, purpose, and meaningful challenge. This doesn't mean you need to force yourself to become someone you're not. You don't need to suddenly love crowds, parties, or constant social interaction. Balance doesn't mean flipping your personality upside down. It means staying in relationship with the world, even in small, manageable ways. A walk outside, sunlight on your face, a quiet coffee with someone who feels safe. Small points of contact that remind your nervous system that the world isn't only noise and pressure. Home should be a place you return to, not a place you disappear into. A base, not a bunker. When it functions that way, it continues to serve you. It gives you rest so you can engage again on your own terms. But when it becomes the only place you feel capable of existing, it's a sign that something inside you needs attention, not judgment, not force, just awareness. The healthiest version of staying home is intentional. You choose it when you need it. You leave it when curiosity or connection calls you. You don't stay in because you're avoiding life, and you don't go out because you feel guilty. You move between the two based on what actually supports you. That rhythm is what keeps solitude nourishing instead of isolating. So if you're someone who rarely wants to leave the house, the real question isn't, what's wrong with me? It's, what is my mind protecting me from? And what might I be missing by staying too protected? Those answers look different for everyone. Some people need more rest, some need more stimulation, some need both at different times. Understanding your pattern gives you choice, and choice is where things shift. You don't need to escape your home to live fully. You just need to make sure it's a place that restores you, not a place that quietly replaces the rest of your life. If you see yourself in this, you're not alone. Many people are navigating this same balance without ever talking about it. If you're comfortable, share which type you relate to most, or whether you feel like you're somewhere in between. And if you want to keep exploring these ideas with people who understand them, that's what this community is here for. Reflection is powerful, but reflection shared is often where real clarity begins. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for the latest videos.